Fantastic! I'm Angel Arberici, and today we're going to see Flex Gateway, the most exciting and a fundamental piece of universal API management. If you're going to remember only 4 words today, they have to be ultra fast, lightweight API gateway. That's what Flex Gateway is about. So the idea is that in 2022 we released it, and we came from hearing the customers' feedback and a massive trend in the market around a new tendency, a new need, a new requirement for an extremely lightweight gateway. That is the micro gateways concept. And you will see that Flex is our own version, being one of the fastest gateways based on Envoy in the market. And it comes with the advantages that you see in the screen in the right: high performance, small footprint, easily deployed in any environment. And it's not only, of course, about the gateway, it's about extending the full life cycle of API management, because you can deploy in any cloud, whether it's AWS, GCP, or whatsoever, in any programming language, and very important, in any size of the application, because it could be a very small application footprint, like a microservice, and you can deploy right next to it with an amount of resources that are also small footprint. And of course, you will get the out-of-the-box policies, and you can extend the custom policies, nowadays done by UI and the Rust language, but you will see PDK releases this year on Q4. Now, understanding the big picture is about universal API management here in the screen. I'm not going to go into all the details because for today we're focusing on point number 4, but long story short, you start with many APIs across many environments. You have problems with reuse, you have problems with visibility, and you have problems with security, all of them. And what you need to do, first step, you need a universal catalog that is Experience Hub. Then you have the point number 2 related to our capabilities of monitoring, so power of discovery and reuse. Now, point number 3 is API governance. And point number 4, the focus for today. You want to manage all those APIs, deploy APIs and gateways anywhere, and monitor them from one place. And of course, once you finish all these steps, you get the beautiful picture in the right, finished full lifecycle API management for any API across any environment. And as we said that we're going to talk about Flex Gateway, you can see there on the right, manage non-Mule APIs. This is all the UIPM components, and today we're focusing specifically on Flex Gateway. Now, if we dive into Flex Gateway, there are 2 main modes. There's connected mode, that is Flex connected to the Anypoint platform and connected also to the control plane and to API management. This means you can log into the anypoint.mulesoft.com and you can use the interface of the API manager to actually manage your policies for Flex. But of course, you can also use a CLI or maybe platform APIs if you want to for your CI/CD processes. While in the local mode, you're working offline, meaning you will only share logs and require metrics with the control plane. And here is where the DevOps people hearing this video will start smiling. You do have a declarative config files, of course. When you're working with the local mode, you can have your CRUD, your CRDs files that you will need to manage your CI/CD pipelines. You manage them yourself. That's a main difference. And besides those 2 modes, connected and local, you also have the standalone, the container sidecars, and ingress controller, all different types of deployments we will see in a moment. Before we jump into that, let's remember that anyone that has been working with MuleSoft at this point is asking the question, but we're already using Mule Gateway. And of course, they are perfect when you're working with Mule applications, because a Mule application already has a Mule runtime, which means you can run the gateway directly in that Mule application. Mule Gateway and Mule application running in the same place. However, there are scenarios where you may have non-Mule APIs, or the gateway will be outside of the Mule API, and this will work as well with Mule Gateways. But remember, it's a standalone application, meaning you need to spin up an entire Java virtual machine, the Mule runtime server, and that's already like 500 megabytes of RAM plus CPU, and it works, but you need CPU, you need vCores, and you will be using vCores for your gateways. This is where Flex Gateway comes in to help. And again, it's not a replacement, it's a new option. Flex Gateway doesn't use vCores, and you can deploy it next to your APIs, wherever that API may be. And this could translate, of course, into savings, some latency, or if you work with a very small application or microservice, then you may decide it's best to use Flex Gateway. Maybe it's more variable. So to identify this, Let's take a look at this next diagram. You can see the MuleSoft APIs there on the top. That's a typical Mule gateway where you have the consumer, you have the Mule API that works with a Mule API and Mule gateway. This is when we talk about auto discovery and interacts with the backend service, the system. Then you have non-Mule APIs where you do have, again, you have your Cloud Hub runtime plane, you have your Mule API that is running just a Mule gateway, and then you go all the way to the non-Mule API. This is how you are protecting it. Where Flex is going to be different. You can see in the screen 4 different deployment patterns. Today we're going to focus for the demo on the sidecar deployment pattern, but think about it, is basically you will get Flex Gateway deployed and it's going to protect your service. Your consumer applications may be outside your organization own network or maybe not. These are all examples and you're always interacting with the Anypoint platform for these examples of today. Now, let's go into what the demo is going to look like. And before we start the demo, we need to be very clear on what is going to happen. The demo is going to include all these points that you see in the screen. So we're going to go into Flex Gateway, we're going to use connected mode and do a deployment container sidecar using Docker. You can see in the bottom of the screen, we're going to use an HTTP client to make an HTTP request, get request to the Flex Gateway that is running locally as well. Everything is running locally and it's running in a container, it's running using Docker. It's going to act as a proxy and it's going to send that request to Wikipedia and all the way back to the HTTP client. And another use case that we're going to use is the rate limiting policy. We're going to apply a rate limiting policy here, and we're going to see all these components from the Anypoint platform: API management, exchange, monitoring, and runtime manager. Now, let's dive into the demo.